Way back in 2016, voters approved an ambitious transit plan that would deliver a light rail system spanning the greater Seattle area. It promised massive expansion, reaching places like Ballard, West Seattle, Everett, and Tacoma. But nearly a decade later, soaring construction costs, higher borrowing expenses, and lower than expected revenue have left the agency facing a multi-billion-dollar funding gap. Sound Transit says some projects can move forward, while others, including the full Ballard extension, remain unfunded. And a lot of people have opinions about this. One of the lawmakers leading the push for Sound Transit and having the 3 funding was the Washington State Senator Marko Liias, who's joining me now live in studio today to talk more about this. So Marko, thank you for joining me.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Thanks for talking this on.
Exactly. A lot of people are upset, especially about the Ballard extension. We'll get to that in a moment. But first off, was the promise made to voters in 2016 realistic from your perspective?
It was definitely a best case scenario. In order to deliver all the investments that were promised, we really needed everything to go right for us. And as we know, things have not gone right.
And we talked about it briefly. Was this primarily bad luck, or was the original cost and revenue just too high?
It was optimistic. You know, we also were counting on Clinton administration to help us get funding for it. Obviously, that didn't materialize. We also weren't counting on the inflation or the pandemic that caused so much dislocation.
And Senator, who should be held accountable in this situation? I know you're not part of the Sound Transit, so a lawmaker, you know, and there's a lot of players involved. But do you have an opinion on who should be held accountable?
You know, I mean, I think ultimately a lot of us share the blame for it. Voters probably should have asked for more details. I think Sound Transit should have been less optimistic, less best case scenario, more honest about some of the challenge that they faced. And this is another circumstance where the Trump administration really set us behind by not investing in transit, both the first time and more recently. So I think there's blame to share for sure.
And when you saw the news, just to make this a little more personal for you too, of Ballard not getting that funding and having that announcement happen, what was your initial thought to that?
You know, Ballard is such a thriving neighborhood with so much potential. The ridership possibilities there are incredible. We know that people are moving to Ballard because it's a growing neighborhood in the city. We want to connect them with high quality transit. It's going to happen. It's just unfortunately going to take longer than it should.
Yeah, and it's we're unsure of how long it actually will take. Should taxpayers trust future transportation packages when it comes to things they might have already voted for and they won't be fully realized right now?
I mean, I think right now we need to focus on getting it delivered, and there's some things that the city of Seattle could do to make permitting easier. The fire standards in Seattle are much higher than in other jurisdictions around the region. That could bring down costs. We also should let Sound Transit leverage the taxes we've already approved to get stuff done more quickly. In transportation, time is money. The sooner we can get under construction, the lower the costs will be. Right now, there's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of barriers in the way. We've got to clear those out of the way. And when I talk to folks from Ballard, I'm like, go to City Hall and demand permitting that's quick and efficient so we can get this thing under construction.
Yeah, especially pulling back that red tape, as you said, because this would have taken a long time as well. We're talking into the 2050s.
Yeah, I think that's the other challenge is we probably need to be careful about promising 30 and 40-year programs like this. The world is so uncertain right now. Let's focus on the next 5 or 6 years and see what we can get done and then continue forward.
And we touched on this briefly already, but how do you balance that need for affordability and fiscal caution as well with the political promise made to voters?
You know, we always want to create a vision, right? If we tell voters we can only do so much, we've got to create the big vision. People want to know where we're going to get when the system's built, but we also have to be honest about the costs and the barriers we face. I think setting realistic expectations, and right now there are still too many barriers, too much red tape. We've got to clear that out of the way. That's stuff that in the legislature and at City Hall they can fix. We need to get those barriers out of the way, get those trains under construction.
And so for the people wondering, will this ever happen? Are there any ways right now to get the project back on financially? You
know, I think the legislature could approve longer term loan timeframes. There's a federal program where Sound Transit could borrow for a longer period, get more dollars to build stuff now. We also can clear some of those permitting barriers out of the way. If we have the political will, we can get it done. We also just need to be honest with voters about what's possible. And it's clear we're not going to get to Ballard as quickly as people need us to. We can get there if we come together, demand the changes that need to be done, and get under construction.
And that's the first step right there. You said it well as well, having colleagues and people in your district coming to those meetings and voicing their concerns too, making those demands.
100%.
Well, Senator Liias, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, good to be with you.
We appreciate your time.